The mayor and many of the folks behind me and others came to see me. I don't know how long it was, but it was a long time ago, a couple of years, and said, we have a great idea. They said, we have decided as a community that transportation is important to our community, and people have voted to tax themselves to build specific projects, highway and transit. And we need help expediting that, or it will take us 30 years. Remember, Mayor, 30-10. And we came to you and said, came to me and said, can you front that money? And I said, let me see what the current laws are. And with the help of a brilliant staff, Bettina Poirier, who is not here, she said, I think there's a program called TIFIA, and I think we can reform that to make it work. And that became a new section in our National Transportation Bill, and we call it America Fast Forward. And America Fast Forward had its beginnings right here in California, in Los Angeles, this mayor and the good people standing with him today and others who couldn't be here today. So this is a day for California to be very proud. We are going to get our transportation money for 2 years and 3 months at current levels plus inflation, and I believe we will get a good portion of that new TIFIA funding, and I believe we will see out of that another 100,000 jobs right here in California. That's what I believe. Now, we saved the bike path money. We absolutely did. Yes, there's more flexibility, and the people who love that part of the program will have to lobby a little harder at the state houses. But for the first time, that money for pedestrians and bike trails will go to local governments, and that's very exciting. Yeah. That's new and very exciting. We have a new freight program in here, meaning that there will be incentives. If we're moving freight, those incentives will be put in place. We have projects of national significance, a new authorization for that, which will help us continue the kind of Tiger Grant funding that we've seen come to California. There are many other wonderful parts of this bill. I'm not going to go into them at this time, but if you have questions, I will answer them. But just know, we have a steady level of funding. Every state gets what they got last year, plus inflation. We have a 2-year, 3-month commitment to a bill. Now that's the great news with the new TIFIA program. The harder issue is the future. We must find a supplement to the gas tax to fund transportation. But you know what? I'm going to think of that in about 7 or 8 days. And today I want to mark this amazing accomplishment, which could never have happened without the outside support that we received from places like Los Angeles to places like Philadelphia to places all over this great nation. The mayors came together, many of the governors came together, the chambers of commerce came together, the unions came together. And when I saw Richard Trumka sitting side by side with Tom Donahue of the Chamber of Commerce, I thought, oh my God, is this a mirage? Is this really happening? It really happened. And as a result, we got a Congress that hasn't been able to do anything come together and get this done. And it is my great pleasure to introduce one of the people in this nation who proved that he had a vision and he could sell that vision, Mayor Villaraigosa.
Let me begin by saying good morning. You know, there's an old saying that patience is a virtue. And when it comes to the surface transportation bill, we've had a lot of patience over the last few years, but it's been well worth the wait. Last week, Congress passed the transportation bill, and tomorrow, the President will sign it. This bill invests $105 billion over the next 2 years and puts Americans back to work, paving roads, laying track, and building bridges across the country. And importantly for LA, this bill also funds America Fast Forward. Now, America Fast Forward, as many of you know, was a program we called a few years ago the 3010 program. When we had the audacity to talk about the 3010 program, many of you smiled, some laughed, almost everyone said was never going to happen. And I'm here to thank my friend, Barbara Boxer, the great senator from California, for believing in this program, for helping us craft it as America Fast Forward, for understanding that there was an opportunity at a time of high deficits and debt to encourage localities to put up their own money, to loan against the future and bond against the future, to take advantage of a transportation loan program that was underfunded, to dramatically expand it, to be able to put multiple projects together, to be able to get early sign-off on those projects. And without you, it couldn't have happened. So let's give a big hand as we celebrate this victory for common sense investment in America's future. We couldn't have done it without Senator Boxer. You know, when you're in this job, you don't get to be mayor alone. You get to do things like this with the help of others. And I feel duty-bound to acknowledge my friend and colleague, Supervisor Zev Yaroslavsky, who was there all along the way. I didn't have to explain to him that Measure R was a good thing for LA. He jumped on board. He was a colleague and a partner from the very beginning. I want to thank you, Supervisor Zev Yaroslavsky. You know, actually this has been 3 years in the making. And when we started knocking on those doors, you know, we got no. So I sent Richard Katz out there. I don't like getting no's. So Richard was there along with Jaime de la Vega, now the current general manager of the DOT. And after a while, they started getting yeses. And I want to thank Richard Katz, a former chair of the Transportation Committee, for his support for Measure R, for 3010, for America Fast Forward, for putting this on the agenda across the board. You know, without labor, this never could have happened. Maria Elena Durazo didn't need to be informed or educated about the need to create 500,000 jobs at the time. She understood why it was important. I want to thank her and the LA County Federation of Labor, the building trades, and for their support. Denny Zane and Move LA. You know, Denny from the very beginning understood why this was important. Not just the job creation, though that's a game changer, but also very importantly, what it could do to move goods, what it could do to improve the quality of air, what it could do to a congestion. And Denny helped to put the coalition together across the city and then across the nation. That is the result of America Fast Forward. And I want to thank you, Denny Zane. Give him a big hand. Now, you know, when I first went, some of you know that in the course of all of this, I became president of the Conference of Mayors. When I started trying to explain to the mayors that we should be for a loan program, almost every one of them laughed us out of the room because they said, we're looking for grants. And I said, well, that's nice, but we've got a group of people that don't want to fund infrastructure anymore, even though since 1956, it's always been a bipartisan proposition. But over time, we got 2 mayors, and then 5 mayors, and then 10 mayors, and then 50 mayors, and then 60 mayors, and then 100 mayors, and then 140 mayors, and then 188 mayors, and now over 200 mayors have gotten behind America Fast Forward and the Surface Transportation Bill. And they have, because as the great senator of California said it very well. And I call her the great senator because just like they said it wasn't going to happen, all year long, everyone said after 11 extensions of the Surface Transportation Bill, after not having passed the Surface Transportation Bill since 2005, that it wasn't going to happen. And I kept on saying, I put my money on Barbara Boxer. You know, I know her. I've been with her since 1992 in every campaign, and she's been with me. And I knew that she had the tenacity, the persistence and the determination to build the bipartisan coalition. And I want to acknowledge Senator Inhofe for his support, and of course the AFL-CIO, the Chamber of Commerce, and all the important organizations that got behind this. Because without this coalition, it never would have happened. And be clear about this. We're not only talking about 2 million jobs that we preserve. With America Fast Forward, that's another 1 million jobs that we will help to create. This will mean it will make it easier to apply for TIFIA funds, and in the first year, this program goes from $128 billion to $750 million. I'm sorry, 120 to $750 million in the first year and $1 billion in the second year. That's what it goes. And obviously, it could create a 5-to-1 leverage all the way along. And so this will help us accelerate some of our programs. This is a win-win, and again, I couldn't be more excited. Finally, I just want to say this. I hope that this bill, which is the most important job creation bill that the Congress has passed up to date, I hope this is an opportunity for the Congress to come back together and to support the President's proposals to put people back to work. It's time for America and the Congress to understand that when bipartisan leaders like Barbara Boxer put forth programs that put people to work, this is a great opportunity for us to continue along those lines. Finally, I want to acknowledge Gary Tobin, who's here with us with the LA Chamber, Ron Miller with the Building Trades, Robbie Hunter, as I mentioned, Hillary Norton with Fast and BizFed, and all of the folks who helped to make this happen.
You're talking about the transportation. This is something that is decided by the state and the metropolitan planning organizations. The federal government does not dictate what projects. We just give the funding to the states. So I'm happy to see if there's somebody here who could address that.
I can. Well, as you know, we're negotiating as we speak now $546 million in TIFIA loans for the Crenshaw line. The next one is for the subway, and I think somewhere about $600 million for the subway. It is a game changer, obviously, because it allows us to accelerate. And by the way, with the extension of Measure R, which, as you could see, is going through the Assembly and the Senate very, very smoothly, we expect, once that's on the ballot, that will help us implement the 3010 proposal. But not only for transit now, also for highway projects. That's why that's another 400,000 jobs. So when you think of TIFIA, when you realize what the surface transportation bill will bring us, and as you heard the senator, it not only brings us current projects plus COLA for another 22 years, 27 months, but with the extension of Measure R, we're going to see projects like this accelerated. We're going to see the doubling of the rail system in a much shorter period of time.